Hello, this is Brother Oates. Matthew chapter 24 and verse number 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. There is coming a future event known as the tribulation, a 7-year period in which the Antichrist, the one that imitates Christ, will rule from Mount Zion in the temple. He will sign a peace treaty with the Jewish people. In the middle of the 7-year period, he will break that treaty. The last 3.5 years are known as the Great Tribulation. Let me set the scene. In Matthew chapter 23, Jesus is going to finish his last public sermon. A few days later, he will be crucified. And he comes to this conclusion in Matthew 23 and verse number 37. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings, and ye would not. In verse number 38, he says this, Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. And he was talking about the temple where he was preaching. He called it your house because it was no longer God's house. God's glory had departed. He was asked a question as they departed the temple and crossed down the Kidron Valley to the Mount of Olives. He gives the longest recorded answer of any question ever posed to him in the New Testament. Matthew chapter 24 and 25 is his answer. We call it the Olivet Discourse. It's in a group just with his disciples in a private setting. He further expands on the word desolate in chapter 23 and verse number 38. When in Matthew chapter 24 and verse number 2, he says this, There shall not be left one stone here upon another that shall not be thrown down. They could imagine the building of Herod's temple, much less the demolition of it, but that would happen 35 short years later in 70 AD when the Roman general Titus and the Roman armies would fulfill this prophecy that Jesus gave. The question in verse number 3 is this, tell us, when shall these things be? In other words, when is this going to happen with this temple? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? Beginning with verse number 4 down to verse number 15, Jesus will give them a description of general signs that will take place in this tribulation period. You and I have experienced just a taste of some of these signs, but not nearly to the magnitude they will take place in the Great Tribulation. In fact, verse number 8 says this, all these are the beginning of sorrows. That word sorrows is another word for birth pains, or we would even call it contractions. Contractions happen at the end of a pregnancy, not at the beginning. And what is going to signal these general signs? Verse number 15 tells us, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, the Antichrist is going to break his treaty in the middle of this tribulation period. And at that moment, he's going to desecrate the temple by setting himself up to be worshiped as God. Oh, and the sign, Jesus would tell them the sign to look for. It's found in verse number 30. There shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. He's coming. Get ready. He's coming soon. Bereans, search the Scriptures. God bless you.